Hey there, I'm Mr. Lang, and this is a lesson on homonyms. First, let me introduce myself. As I said, my name's Mr. Lang, and I was an 8th grade literacy teacher for 3 years here at Vernon. Now I'm an instructional coach, so I work mostly with your teachers, and I do a bunch of other kind of random things around the school. As you can see, I'm kind of a nerd. I've got some Zelda stuff up here, but I also just rearranged my office, so the rest of my decorations aren't quite up to par yet. But hopefully this lesson will be helpful for you. We noticed that this is a type of question that a lot of students are missing on some of our reading assessments, so we wanted to go over some of the basics. Let's get started. What is a homonym? Homonyms are words that are spelled the same and sound the same, but they have different meanings. So, for example, the word can be used in a sentence like, "Can I have that pencil?" And it can be used in a sentence like, "We should use that can of beans in this recipe." So for homonyms, it's important to start with the definition. Understanding them depends on understanding the definition of each word. They might be spelled the same and they might sound the same, but their meanings can be very different. Because the spelling is the same, this isn't about choosing the correct word to use, but it's about using the word correctly in a sentence. Let's take a look at an example. The word address could mean to speak to. This is a verb, so it's like an action word. So you would address someone if you were talking to them. On the other hand, what else does address mean? Right, it's also a location. So you have a home address, Vernon Middle School has an address, everywhere you go has an address. So starting with the definition for this one, we have to start with the definition in order to know how to use the word. So to test this out, let's look at a few examples. Using the definition to speak to. Which sentences fit the definition to speak to? I made sure to put my address on the envelope. I listened to the Queen address the nation. Sharon had to fill out her address on her job application. You can kind of hear that. I even used it differently there. I'm nervous that I have to address my classmates during my presentation today. So if you guessed the ones over here, not quite. This one is a location, so I made sure to put my speak to on the envelope. That doesn't quite make sense. But over here, I listened to the Queen speak to the nation. On the other hand, over here, we've got Sharon had to fill out her speak to on her job application. Doesn't quite make sense. I'm nervous that I have to speak to my classmates during my presentation today. So we don't want to use these. So some of these might seem kind of obvious, but let's take a look at some of these together in a format that's a little bit more like a screener or one of the tests that you have to take to determine whether you kind of get this difference. So let's take a look at the word clip. In this case, we're going to use the definition that's a noun, meaning a short segment of a video. Now, let's review these 4 options here. I reviewed the clip from my home movie footage. Carrie closed her eyes as she listened to the stylist clip her hair. Ben closed the bag of chips with a clip. Probably a chip clip. I knew it was time to clip the grass. All right, which one do you think it is? Bingo, this first one. I reviewed the clip from my home movie footage. That's the only sentence here that matches this definition, a short segment of a video. All right, one more example. Which sentence fits? Drop. We're going to use the verb definition for this. So you could probably think of a couple of definitions of drop. But in this case, we're going to use the definition that's let or make something fall vertically, so drop. Let's look at these sentences. A single teardrop slid down his face. Jacoby watched a drop of water slide down the window pane. Drop everything and run. Or Shaylin grimaced as a drop of blood pooled around the splinter. Ugh. All right, what do you think? Yeah, it's this one. Drop everything and run. So in this case, again, the only sentence that matches our definition of letting or making something fall vertically, in this case, everything, is this sentence here. All right, now I'm going to leave you with a little bit more practice just to get this really solid in your head, but this time we're going to do it a little backwards. You're going to come up with definitions for some of these homonyms yourself. This link, which I'll put in the description of this video below, is going to take you to the homonym list. This is a website for ESL learners, or people learning English as a second language, which is also great for people who are trying to improve their English, like us. And it's got a list of over 300 homonyms with examples. So I'm going to show you what that looks like now. When you go there and you scroll down a little bit, the first thing you're going to see is that homonym actually refers to two different types of words, a homophone and a homograph. For this activity, we're actually just talking about homographs because those are words with the same spelling that have more than one meaning. Homophones are pronounced the same as another, but they differ in meaning and they're spelled differently. So things like weak and weak, those are spelled differently. So we're just talking about homographs, but we can just keep calling them homonyms. Band, bat, that kind of thing. When you scroll down, you'll see a whole bunch of examples. So mean and mean, right and right, ring and ring. And they've got examples here, which is really great. What a beautiful ring, or the children sat on the floor in a ring. The second link is your homonym examples tracker, and with the link that I provide, it'll make you make a copy of this document. So I've filled out a few for ring already. So let's take ring as an example. We have two example sentences here, so I'm going to suggest that we make our own definitions. We have what a beautiful ring, and the children sat on the floor in a ring. So if we go back to our example sheet, I've got the word ring, I've got the part of speech noun, and if you need a refresher on parts of speech, this link goes to a pretty useful handout that goes over all of the parts of speech. Then I've got a definition that I made up myself, a band of metal worn as jewelry, and then I put my example picture. Our second definition is also a noun, and it's a circle shape, so here are children in a ring, like Ring Around the Rosie. And then I bet you can think of a third definition, even though we don't have a sample sentence, but how about ringing someone on the phone? In this case, it could be a verb or a noun. So you would call someone, that'd be the verb, or the sound the phone makes is actually a noun. It's a thing. The sound is a thing. It's kind of like a thing you can't touch. So what I'd like you to do is take a look at that website and scroll through the different examples and pick some that you think are particularly good or that you like as an example for yourself, and add examples yourself. You've got the word here, the part of speech, you'll write your own definition, and then you can add an image as an example to help you remember. I added 10 spaces, but if you really like this activity, if you click in this last space and hit tab, it'll add an additional row for you. And that's it. Once you've completed that practice, I think you'll have a pretty good handle on homonyms, and that you'll really know that figuring out homonyms is all about starting with the definition. Thanks for watching!